Okay, what's the time? All right, it's 4:30 and let's wait a little more for others to join and then we'll start. All right. Okay. All right, I think we can start. We have fulfilled the biblical standard that where two or more are gathered, that dear God is in the midst. Okay, let us pray. Father, we thank you for this meeting again. Our prayer, O Lord, is that you help us to not just be hearers, but doers of your word, so that we can become a food-sufficient society. This is our earnest cry and prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hello, everyone. Hello, Francis. Hello, Lady Bless. You can unmute yourself and say good evening. If you can hear me, type hi. Or you can unmute yourself and say hi. Oh, great. Let's see. All right. Thank you very much, Madam Blessing. Okay.
Hi.
Awesome, sir. Good to hear your voice. Thank you very much. So we hope
Okay.
that others will join as we progress.
Okay.
All right. So you can mute yourself back to avoid re-echoing at the background. All right, so we're all welcome to this month's edition of Agri Inspire webinar. And I'm your host, your humble host, Coach Shoma Perpetua. It's a privilege to have you here. All right, and this month we're going to be discussing on a very important topic called BSF farming, black soldier fly farming. Actually, we're supposed to have an anchor, but I noticed he's not online. Engineer Victor Mwadima. But we'll continue, okay? Whenever he comes online, he can join us. Okay, so black soldier fly farming or BSF farming. Okay, it's not a very common kind of farming. But we have discovered in recent times that it's actually one of the major solutions to the problems we are facing in the agro sector. And like we know that the global population is increasing every day, and the need for food production also is increasing. And we cannot overemphasize that. And so in order to meet these growing requirements, humans must therefore seek solutions that not only can provide an adequate supply of food, but can manage these resources responsibly. All right, fortunately, an answer comes from black soldier fly farming. This kind of farming, black soldier fly has been existing right from time immemorial, but until we discover something, we may not begin to use it. So thank God it's becoming popular now. Now, black soldier fly farming is uniquely suited for addressing our current food security and sustainability issues. Why? Because of its impressive growth rate. It has a high growth rate, okay, and when it comes to feedstock. All right. For example, now BSF larvae can consume a variety of organic materials. So those materials that we consider waste, those materials that we just trash, we throw away, our kitchen waste, our fruit waste, our industrial waste, we could gather them, all those our chicken waste, we could gather them and turn them into useful material. And that's why BSF farming is about turning waste to wealth. And people could actually appreciate you for helping them remove this waste. But you know what you're doing. You're actually converting them to what? Huge wealth. Okay. Now, BSF larvae mature in as little as 2 weeks. It's a very short period of time compared to other types of farming processes. Now, this accelerated growth cycle makes them ideal organisms for mass production, as well as efficient use of space and resources. Now, if we look at this slide, we will see the life cycle of BSF. Why are we showing this? Because the economic and environmental benefits of BSF farming lies in its life cycle. And ideally, this life cycle undergoes 5 stages, okay? It undergoes 5 developmental stages. Now, the eggs hatch after 4 days, and then it produces the larva. The larva feeds on organic waste over a period of 13 to 18 days, and then grow, and then, they get to their pre-pupa stage and then pupa stage. What is the benefit of all this? We're going to find out. Why should we bother about farming BSF? Black soldier fly. Why should we bother about it? What are the benefits of BSF farming? The first benefit is that it helps in organic waste reduction. Up to 50 to 80% of our waste can be reduced by BSF to frass. Frass is the nutrient-rich excrement produced by BSF larvae. It is a potent organic fertilizer with numerous benefits. Don't worry, before we finish this webinar, I'm going to show you how frass look like. It is very rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and essential micronutrients. In fact, frass, you can actually rear BSF just for the purpose of getting frass. I'm telling you. Now, what does frass do? Frass helps to enhance the soil health, and it promotes robust plant growth and soil biodiversity while reducing the environmental impact associated with synthetic fertilizers. So if we're going to talk about going organic, having healthy crops, then we must, try to explore these benefits that we could get from BSF. All right. Now, another benefit is the low environmental impact compared to landfills or incineration. As a means of disposing our waste, sometimes we could resort to using landfills, and these things may not degrade properly, or burning. And this is not healthy. Both the after effect of burning and, it's not healthy. So BSF farming provides us a very good alternative to these problems. Another benefit we can look at in BSF farming is that it provides alternative protein for livestock feed. In fact, this is one of the major reasons we are looking into BSF farming today. BSF larvae are rich in essential amino acids, protein, and healthy fats, thereby making them an ideal feed and dietary supplement for poultry, fishes, and piglets. And what does it do? It therefore helps us to reduce our feed costs and also enhance, the growth of our livestock. And that actually translates to huge profits. BSF farming has a commercial potential in aquaculture and poultry farming. Actually, that's what I just thought about now, because when you integrate BSF into the feed that will give poultry and fishes and other livestock like goats, cows, you notice a huge increase, a huge boost in their growth rates. Okay. Now, we're going into the major gist of the day. Okay. We're going into the major gist of the day. And that is the process. What is the farming process in BSF farming? If you look at these flowcharts, you will see that we have about 5 major processes. Now that we know the benefits of BSF farming, why should we, be involved in it? Or how should we get started? How should we, every farmer needs to actually be, have a small setup of BSF farming in his or her farm, or an individual who may just want to adopt BSF farming as a means of livelihood. You can decide to go into BSF farming alone, and so you generate waste from other places. Okay. However, it will be most useful for active farmers who have their waste generated already in their farm. Okay. The first step in the BSF farming process is the waste collection. Okay. And then you now look at how to source the adult BSF flies, because they need to lay eggs. Okay. So you either source it from other farms or you attract it naturally. Okay. And you can now move to rearing the larva on organic waste. You can also look at processing the larva into products. The first one we'll be looking at here is the waste collection. Okay, the waste collection. Now, a very important concept in BSF farming rearing is that of bringing the larva to the waste rather than transporting the waste to the larva. You understand? You bring, instead of transporting the waste from far places, and you could just take some of the larva and put in the waste there. Okay. Now, why is this approach good? Because it helps to minimize logistical complexities and ensures efficient utilization of organic waste streams. What do I mean? If you have your waste in your farm, or you are generating waste at home, or just where this waste is just nearby, it will help to minimize the logistics you're going to spend, the cost of transporting this waste from far to your place. okay, it's going to minimize it. And if you're having this waste already generated in your house, it's going to also help you minimize the logistics. Or for example, if you want to sell the fries, because the fries are lighter, when BSF have degraded the waste, it becomes lighter and easy to carry. It becomes like powder. All right. So it is important that BSF facilities are implemented near waste sources, such as food processing plants, agricultural operations, or urban centers to facilitate what easy and cost-effective transportation of waste materials to the BSF rearing facilities. Okay, so we encourage every farmer, especially poultry farmers or those who are into industrial production of agro produces and generate waste. We encourage them to integrate BSF farming into their farming value chain, because proximity not only lowers transportation costs, but also reduces the carbon footprint associated with waste disposal and instant production. Okay. However, if you don't have this proximity around you, you can consider transporting the waste from elsewhere to your farm where you'll be producing BSF products. Now, having talked about how to collect waste, we are looking at how we can actually integrate or start up BSF in our farms. The first step we'll be looking at is sourcing the adult BSF flies. How do we source it? We can source it, like I said earlier, you can get this adult BSF from other farms, or you can attract it naturally where you are. So if you're buying from other farms, it's quite easy. You just get it and then you put it where you're going to prepare for it. I'm going to show you how this preparation is done. Okay, so how do you attract it? You attract it by preparing an attractant. Attractant is usually, maybe a rotting fruit. You get a container, fill it with rotting fruits. Those rotting fruits are attractants. Okay, and then you now get wood, just like you can see here. Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, say yes, I can. Just type yes, I can. If you can't see it, say no, I can't. If you can see my screen, I need a response before I can continue. Oh, great. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Okay, so we'll continue. Great. So when you fill this container with rotting fruits, we call it attractants. What then you do? You now get wood, stacked wood. If you can see this wood, it's something you can easily get, from our wood shops or any carpenter. Just those leftover woods, you can just get them, stack them together, and tie the edges with a rubber band or just rope. Let them be together. I'm going to tell you why we need to do that. Okay, so we get this, we stack woods on top of that bucket. All right. Why do we do that? In order to attract adult black flies for the purpose of what? Egg collection. Because when those adult black fly comes, they want to lay eggs in between these woods. Okay, so this our attractant could be rotting fruit, it could be kitchens crab, it could be fermented bran, okay, outer layer of grains removed during milling. Maybe those brands we remove when we're making our pap. Okay, it could be manure. You mix them with manure, okay, and usually it's found that rotten pineapple works better than rotten bananas or fermented. So rotten pineapple, because of the smell, it attracts black BSF more easily. However, others do too. Okay, so what do? You place this container with the attractants in the outdoor place where BSF are likely to be. A place that is not too shady. Okay, but it has to have some level of shade. Okay, and then on top of that container, you place a surface for female BSF. I said earlier, you place a surface for the female BSF to lay their eggs. How? You create stacks of wood by cutting these pieces of wood. to a length that exceeds the top, that's the diameter of the bucket. Okay. Now, stack several pieces of wood and then secure the stack. Okay, I've talked about this with rubber band around each end. Another thing you may need to do is to ensure you put toothpicks in between the pieces of the wood so as to create space between the layers of the wood for the adult female flies to lay their eggs. So when you're stacking the wood, you put something like toothpick, so that it will be easy for them to lay, and also it will be easy for you to bring out those eggs. All right. Okay. So from time to time, you monitor these ticks, okay, for eggs. Now, if you don't see any egg after a period of time, what do you need to do? You just reposition. You reposition it, okay, and you reposition in an area that has more organic content. Maybe where you kept the bucket may not be having organic content closely. So just position where they have more organic content, or you could increase the attractant, okay, with more organic waste. All right. So lastly, you hash the eggs to obtain the larva. And this is best done in a mating enclosure or love nest. We're going to see what this love nest looks like. Okay. Now, if you look at this picture, you will see this is a screened-in BSF mating enclosure. Okay. This can actually be done with other things like mosquito nets or even mesh baskets. Okay, depending on your size, what your space, and your economic status, how much you have. Okay, so if you look at here, this is a screening BSF mating enclosure, and it includes overhead sprinklers for moisture control. Okay, in this place, adult flies mate and female lay eggs. So when you have succeeded in collecting the eggs here, you take them into the mating nest. All right, or you call it a love nest. Okay, now the establishment of a mating enclosure is necessary for producing eggs and BSF larvae. Okay, now what does it do? Mating enclosure can range from large screen-in rooms, such as this one that is pictured here, to smaller systems using mosquito nets. So if you don't have the finances for these, or you don't have all it takes to make, you can just use your mosquito net. Okay, and okay, there was a picture I was supposed to put up here. One of my colleagues who has his around here. Okay, he's actually the person who was supposed to handle this, but he's not here. It's okay, we'll continue. So regardless of the scale or design, the mating enclosure must maintain adequate moisture. So even if you don't have the sprinklers, you can put water in a bowl to maintain the moisture content of that, of the enclosure. It must have adequate moisture, okay, and a temperature of between 24 to 38 degrees centigrade. That's about room temperature, while keeping the BSF in and the pests out. So the essence of this enclosure is to keep pests out and just allow only the BSF in. I know at that stage, when they are about to become adults, that is the pupa stage, it does not eat any food. However, you may just need to put only a small amount of food. Just put small amount of organic materials. Why? So as to entice the... Okay, no problem, Madam Blessing. We're going to have a recording of this. I am currently recording. Okay. So we just put a little amount of food nearby. Why? In order to attract the adult female flies to lay eggs. Okay. So the next step we'll look at in establishing our own BSF farms is that we'll look at the BSF egg collection. Egg collection. Remember that when we're doing it outside, actually, if you don't have all the means, you can do it in a bucket like this and now put a net around these buckets. Okay, but if you can advance a little, you can, bring it, build a little structure and put the net so that it can have a wider scope. Now, if you look at this place, you see that this BSF are in their love nest and they are laying eggs inside here. So inside the breeding enclosure, you just provide wooden blocks, like we've said before, with small crevices for the small BSF to lay their eggs. And now, you don't go and put this block directly on the food source. No, no. You put it above a food source, but not directly in contact. The adult females usually will lay the eggs in cracks in between these woods. Okay. So after some time, what you will need to do is that you open up that wood. When you open it up, you see something like this. You see something like this. You see some whitish stuff. Those things are the eggs. Okay. So once the female lays egg, remove the wooden blocks and take them apart for easy access to the eggs. Okay, so what you now do is that you take toothpicks and you of course remember that when you are stacking this, you put toothpicks in between. So when you are opening it becomes easy. You have to be careful, okay, so you don't destroy the eggs. All right, toothpicks are used to separate these blocks. Okay, and then you can now see the eggs that have been laid. And if you look at this place, you see a wire gauze. This wire gauze is actually placed over the food source. All right, because this thing don't have to be in direct contact with the food source. Okay, now that we have our eggs, what next do we do with it? What next do we do with it? Now, the collected eggs are transferred to a proper food source where they will hatch and crawl into the food stock provided. Remember that we have our waste already on ground, okay? And we need these BSFs to degrade them. And now we have gotten our eggs. How then do we take care of our waste? Okay. Okay, so you collect these eggs and then you put it on the food source. Now, if you watch, you will see that these eggs were not put directly on the food source. There is a layer of wire gauze on top because they don't need to be in contact with the food. You allow it for some days and then it will go to the next stage. All right. Okay. They will hatch where you kept them on the wire gauze above the food source, and they will now crawl. When they hatch, they become larvae. They hatch into larvae, and they will now crawl to the food stock provided. Usually, a mesh screen is used to separate the eggs from direct contact with the food source, like I said earlier. And now, these eggs usually will hatch within 4 days of laying. At this stage, while the larvae are still small, you can use plastic tray to hold some quantity of feed or waste, and then put the larvae there. So if you look at this picture, you see that the collected eggs are placed gently on top of the food source. Those things at the base, they are the food source. The waste we collected, the vegetable waste, the manure, okay? So the eggs are laid on the screen mesh, all right, to avoid the direct contact with this. And once the eggs hatch, what will they do? They will quickly find their way. They will crawl out from that mesh and move into the food source, all right? And our target as farmers is actually the larva stage. Okay. So the next step is selecting appropriate feedstock. How do we know the feedstock to select? Usually the black soldier fly has the ability to consume wide array of different products. So you could go to market, you could collect all those fruits that are spoiling, all those market waste, you collect them, and the manure, the table scrap, you get them. So ideally, low cost or even free waste byproduct could be targeted, including market waste, cafeteria foods, scraps, rice bran, brewers' spent waste, soy cake, and the rest of them. But in order to ensure a balanced or complete food source, it is recommended to mix a number of various waste resources together. Okay, why? Because this helps to bulk up the feedstock to ensure higher yields of larvae produced. Usually it's about garbage in, garbage out. So if you look at this first picture here, is a pineapple waste collected from the market. Okay, now the second one is where those wastes are mixed with higher quality waste product like rice bran, soy meal, okay, in order to produce higher higher nutrient larva, because it's about what you put in. The more or the heavier the food stock is, the better the quality of larva you get. Okay, how do we step up our production? As the larva hatches and feeds, they will need to be stepped up into larger containers or bales. As you can see here, okay? So as the larva hatch, you will need to step it up, you will need to step up their feed as larva hatches and feed, because once they get into the feed, it begins to degrade, it begins to eat like ×2, because they have enough to degrade, so they eat and eat and eat. Okay, so you will need to step up into larger containers or bales for adequate production. So note, it is critical to control the moisture. Why? In order to avoid foul smells and rotting feed materials. The moisture in the waste needs to be controlled, because we need to avoid the smells that can come from waste, and also to avoid the materials from getting rotten. So piles of feed or waste should never be allowed to go anaerobic. That is because when they are left like that, that's why you need different containers to spread out this waste. If you leave them like that, they could become anaerobic. That is, oxygen can become limited, and that is not nice. It can develop, it can make your farm to become too smelly. So trays or bales should have a way to drain off moisture to avoid any standing liquid. So one of the ways we can consider is that we may use materials like rice bran or rice powder to rapidly absorb moisture when needed. So when we get our waste, maybe those our vegetable waste, they maybe contain a lot of water. So what you do is that you mix it up with rice bran, okay, or rice powder, or spent grain. You can mix it up with that in order to reduce the water content, because it's this water content in our waste that could actually make our farm to smell or create an anaerobic condition that may not be ideal for even our BSF to thrive well. And so when you have done this, you find out that it's easier for the BSF to degrade this waste. They consume and they eat, and they are growing at a fast rate. Okay, so the next question is, how do I know when to harvest? You find out that within the next 13 to 18 days, the larva would have fed voraciously, like they have eaten all the waste, eating as much as twice as their own body weight every day. Now, it is critical during this time to identify the desired stage at which to harvest the larva. Why? Because at the end of the larva stage, before reaching the prepupa stage, larvas reach their maximum nutritional capacity as a food resource. So if you want to get this larva and use it as feed, It is at this stage, after about 13 to 18 days, at this stage, you will have to harvest them. Okay, if you look at this picture, you will see that from the after they have been introduced, after 4 days, they have hatched and they move into they will stay in the waste for 13 to 18 days. You see it here. What are they doing this time? They are consuming the waste. They are breaking it down. Okay, so you must know the right time to harvest it. Because at the end of the larva stage, before reaching the pre-pupa stage, as you can see here, all right, before reaching the pupa stage, it is the best time to harvest it at this stage here. At this stage here, this is the best time to harvest before getting to the pre-pupa stage. Okay, because this is when they have the highest nutrients. Now, if you leave it further, if harvested too late, the producer runs the risk of lower feed quality. Why harvesting too early might mean missing out on additional weight and size, and therefore, potentially higher yields. So it's important to note that the decision to harvest larva at this stage before reaching maturity will likely require some form of sorting or sizing, all right, or separation of larva from their feed material. Because at that time they are still in their feed material. What their feed material that time have turned to frass. It's just for cultivation. Okay, so it's important to note that to know when to harvest it. So if you harvest it at this stage, just before the pre-pupa stage, then you would have harvested it at the maximum time you needed it for your feed, either for poultry, for fish, for pigs, for cows, just your livestock. This is the best time to harvest it, just before the pre-pupa stage. Okay, and so when you harvest it, then you will need to sieve it out, because that time their waste have become light and like powder, so it's easy to sieve. So you may need to actually this part can be a little bit laborious, okay, and taxing, but it's worth it. Some persons use mechanized shakers. Okay, so when you scale up and you are producing in very large quantity, you can use mechanized shakers to sieve. Okay, now from here you see that the life cycle of a black fly black soldier fly lasts approximately 45 days in its entirety before reaching the pupa stage. So BSF larvae are at their maximum nutritional quality as a food resource at this pre-pupa stage, just before it gets to this stage. You notice after it leaves this stage, the color changes. Okay, so it is at that stage that we need to harvest it. Okay, so I talked about sizing and sorting. So in order to produce larvae at their peak nutritional stage, that is their pre-pupa stage, they must be harvested from their feed material. So after they have degraded the feed material, you see this, my friend here. She's inside where they degraded waste. Okay, so they have a lot of larvae here and it's mixed up with the feed material. So she's sieving it. Okay, so it involves some level of sorting and screening to isolate the larva. So this can be done with various sizes of screens and is made easier by transferring larva to a final feed source at the end of their production, allowing for easier separation. So this can be done by hand or through investment in mechanized shaking. So at this point, after it has been sorted out, okay, you have your final product. This is what the final product is. This is what we're looking for. This is what we are looking for, that when we integrate it in our feed for birds, you find out that you're producing your broilers in 5 weeks. You're producing your fishes grow at a very accelerated rate. You have reduced costs, huge reduced costs, and very, very good ROI. Okay, so this larva at the final and most nutritional rich stage before turning into pupa, at which time the nutritional value will begin to decline. Because once they get to the pre-pupa stage, the nutritional value begins to do what? Decline, because they stop eating. If you remember the first stage, I told you that they don't really need food. When they get to their pre-pupa stage, they're becoming adult. They don't really need food anymore. And that's what we're going to be talking about in step 10. Okay, because it's going to be a cycle thing. When you're harvesting your larva, you may not harvest everything so that you can have a cycle. So many BSF systems take advantage of the self-harvesting nature of the BSF. At this stage in its life, a BSF pupa may migrate from its food. So when they get to the pre-pupa stage, they begin to migrate away from their food. They no longer eat. Okay? They migrate away from its food source in search of a dark, quiet place. So if you're setting up these farms, you can have buckets like this at the edge for the larva to migrate into it when they are getting to their pre-pupa stage. Okay, so many setups have been designed to funnel the crawling pupa out of the foodstuff into a bucket or other catchment area, like I've showed you here. And this is an extremely convenient phenomenon because, as noted earlier, only the pupa stage, when the BSF has already passed its prime as a feed source. So the life cycle, once it gets to the pre-pupa stage, it's no longer eating. It's changing. It's developing to adult. It's trying to become an adult, and so it will move out after the larva stage. As it's moving to the pre-pupa stage, it moves out from the feed source, from those waste. It moves out because already it has finished degrading the waste. Okay, it moves out and then it start looking for a dark place to move into. Okay, so this only happens at the pupa stage when the BSF has already passed its prime as a feed. So in most farms, it's found that this self-harvesting system works very well for what? Resupplying the mating enclosure. Remember that we have our enclosure. All right, the enclosure is placed on one side. What we need the enclosure for is for the BSF to mate and lay eggs. And once they lay eggs, we'll bring out the eggs and introduce them into the feed source, which is the waste we need to degrade. And the cycle continues. We harvest as much larva as we can. We leave the remaining ones to turn into pupa and then into adults. Okay? So it's convenient and it's capable of providing a steady supply of pupa for reproduction purposes. So you can see here the BSF self-harvests itself. The BSF larva self-harvesting. When the pupa has reached the end of their pupa cycle, they will crawl away from their food source and fall into the trough, these buckets here, okay, where they can now be collected in these buckets. So you can take note of these so that when you're constructing your own BSF farm, you would know how to go about it. So what do we do with the larva after we have harvested it? You can feed your fishes directly or your chicken or your livestock directly, or you can dry it or powder it. So we're going to talk about the uses, but sometimes there are challenges. Okay, it's not it's not there are challenges involved also sometimes. So what are some of the challenges we may encounter while doing our BSF farm? There are some production challenges to consider. Number one is pests. Okay, pests such as birds, rats, and other critters should be considered before setting a BSF system of any scale. And that's why closed systems are necessary. Okay, we need a closed system. You shouldn't just leave your BSF open like that. Otherwise, these pests can disturb them. So you can use, screens or nets. Okay, just that this necessary process of installing screens and nets can make the farming of BSF a bit expensive, okay, and add significantly to the producer's bottom line, but it's worth it. Okay, if you are going to do it as a business, then you have to spend a little money to invest. Okay, now another production challenge, like we've already talked earlier, is a foul smell, and we have dealt with this already. Okay, it is critical to the success of any BSF system to control moisture properly. Now, because many food waste, such as food scraps, contain high moisture content and can lead to the system becoming anaerobic. Okay, so preventing this from happening is not only crucial to the success of the overall system, but it will also help in the overall smell and subsequent perception of neighbors and clients, because we are not living in isolation. We live amidst people, so we must consider others around us and take care of our farms. So as previously mentioned, one of the major ways to solve this problem is to do what? Install drainage options. We install drainage options and then keep on hand substances such as rice bran, rice flour. This can be added to absorb the moisture. Okay, that way we have taken care of these major challenges that we may encounter. The first one, we prevent pests by putting nets, okay, around, and the foul smell, we do that by draining off the moisture and also using substances like rice bran and the rest of them. So what are the uses of black fly products? Why should we even bother about rearing dish? Number one use is livestock feed. In fact, that is why a lot of us are interested in it. So while it is possible to produce BSF larvae for human consumption, the primary impetus for producers remains as a source for livestock feed, particularly fish and poultry. Like the cost of the feed for these livestock, poultry and fish, they are so very uncomfortable. Like it's too high. So if we can incorporate BSF, it will help us to bring down the cost of production and help us have higher ROI, but above all, help us to produce higher quality protein livestock. Okay, so and that will translate to improving the nutrition of our society, and of course help us become more food sufficient sustainably. Okay, so larvae can be fed directly, or they can be integrated into an existing feed ration. Okay, so instead of just giving them their feed, you can add the larvae, you can dry it and add it to their feed. Okay, some farms are currently experimenting with commercial fish and chicken feed supplemented with various rates of BSF larvae. Okay, so as you have your feed, when you buy your feed, your chicken feed, or what you now do is that you add the larvae to it, BSF larvae to it, because it has high protein content. You'll be amazed at the growth rate of your livestock. So you can integrate it with the feed. Okay, and if you're giving them, for example, if you're giving them 200 or let's say 10 kg of feed, if you're feeding your birds, depending on the size of your poultry, with 10 kg of feed, you can reduce it to about 6 to 7 kg and add BSF larvae to it, and that has saved you some good money. But above all, your livestock responds better. There is huge conversion rate. It helps them to convert feed very efficiently. Okay, so to use larvae practically and regularly, they can be fed fresh. They can also be fed whole, dried, or you can grind them. Sometimes you can freeze them, depending on the contents and equipment available to you. Okay, so we continue. Another use of the BSF product is for soil amendment. Okay, in addition to the larvae produced, BSF also leaves behind a valuable manure. We call it frass or cast, and they can be applied to the soil. This manure that BSF produce, it's not just an organic fertilizer, it's also an organic pesticide. Because if you see where BSF are growing, no other insects can come close.
How would they want to do?
No other insects can come close. Okay, so it's also an organic pesticide. Okay, so it has huge value. Huge value.
Always mute your.
It has huge value. Okay, so it's a very important usage of BSF products. So after they have degraded those waste, the waste becomes a high organic fertilizer and also pesticide. If you notice, if your farm is being attacked by pests, you use BSF fertilizer around, you find out that the pests will just go away by themselves. Okay. So in commercial enterprise, this byproduct is often bagged, and sold as separate products. Some persons do this as in a business on its own, and it's a huge income generating business. So some people just grow BSF to generate this France. It's a huge money generating, business that we can consider. So you find that those waste in our farms are no longer waste. They have become huge income generating venture. So you no longer throw them away. You can even decide to package them well. But of course, if you're going to buy, you will buy garden soil. And it's not cheap. Recently, when I was cultivating tomatoes, we're making nursery, we have to buy garden soil. And a bag was going for about 20 something thousand, a bag of about 15 kg. You can imagine. So you can decide to, get this waste, degrade them with BSF and have high quality organic manure, and the value cannot be overemphasized. And also pesticide. All right, so some persons can decide to do it as a business on its own. So at a minimum, this product can be reintegrated into the farm in vegetable beds, nursery potting, mix, and the rest of them. So lastly, there comes with the production of BSF, a liquid product that can be collected and used to amend soil. Yeah, so this liquid can be collected during the feeding process when the larvae are voraciously consuming waste products from, food scraps, manure, and other food source. So it's interesting, like you could actually get some liquid that could be used to amend soil. Okay, so and that's actually huge. That's actually huge. Okay. So Bluetooth canceled. That's it. That's it about cultivation of black BSF and the uses. At this point, I want to take some questions. So if you have questions, kindly ask. Kindly ask. You can unmute yourself and ask, or you could type in the chat box. Okay? Type or mute yourself and ask. Do we have questions? Do we understand what we have just learned? Is this something that we can try out? Is it something we can try out? Are there questions troubling you may want to ask? Kindly ask. Questions, it's question time. Or you can raise your hand and ask your question. Okay. So I assume that we all understand what we have learned. What it means is that oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Hello, Coach.
Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for teaching us. We are learning.
Good to know.
So, I kind of come across this thing from a meat seller where I normally go buy meat along the street. So there is this sack. He stores fat, just behind him. You get? So he stores a whole lot of fat. That is where he throws them because he doesn't really have time to. It does like his dustbin area. You get? So one day I took a closer look at what was really coming out from the sack. Man, it was huge. I never knew that this thing can be so useful. I felt like, hell, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So I felt like, wow. At that moment, I felt irritated because the maggots, the whole, like, he didn't use the word maggots, the whole lava that was coming out from that place was something else. Even I I even thought of to stop buying meat from that man because of what I saw. But like now, I'm going to make him my friend.
Oh, that's
I'm,
a good decision. That's a very good
I'm going
decision.
to make him my friend so that I can go and be collecting those
Wait.
useful lava that is coming out from his waist.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling you. And
Yeah.
the funny part of the thing is that the thing they crawl out from outside the sack, not even inside the waist. So when you go around the sack, you see a whole lot of things
Yeah.
coming out from there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that I came for this webinar. Thank you.
All right. This is quite good to hear. But then we must understand that not all maggots are BSF. Okay, not all maggots are BSF. Okay, there is a difference between BSF larva and the maggots we know. Okay, however, uh, BSF can be attracted. All right, it can be attracted. I think the difference between BSF maggot and that of the housefly maggot is that BSF maggot is kind of orange. It has this orange-like color, but the housefly maggot is more white. Okay. Okay. But notwithstanding, you need to make those that produce waste your friends so that you can be getting the waste from them because you need it. You need the waste in order to turn it to wealth. Okay, so these days you find that people are no longer throwing away things as they used to. And when people who generate this waste notice that it is now an important ingredients for people who are doing BSF farm, they begin to sell. In fact, one of my colleagues that operates BSF farm around Ohaji buys his own waste. He buys it. Okay, so he goes to markets where they sell fruits and vegetables, and then he buys off the waste from them, and then he uses a big vehicle to come and transport it to his farm. That's why we encourage that if you're doing it, try to do it close to the waste source so that it will save you the cost of logistics transporting it to your BSF facilities. Okay, so talking about BSF facilities, all right, BSF rearing can be approached at different scales, okay, ranging from container, like I showed us earlier, container modules, or suitable for small scale farmers to large scale factories. So each approach to BSF, to rearing has its own advantages and consideration. Now, when you are starting up your BSF farm, you look at factors such as what space do I have available? What is my production volume? Okay. How much do I have? What is my investment capacity? And what is the market demand? Now, if you have farms, you already have a market. Okay, if you have farms like me, I have poultry farm, I have fishery farm, so I'm setting up my own. I have the market. I also do cultivation, so the waste is also important to me. I'll use it for my home garden. So everyone actually needs to have a home garden, and if you're having a home garden, it means that you need BSF. Okay, because you need to be able to produce the feed that your livestock feeds on, and you also need to produce the high quality manure that your crops need. Okay, so depending on these factors, you can decide on what facility to take up. All right, so while we still await questions, we're going to be concluding. So all in all, BSF farming presents a novel solution capable of contributing significantly towards global food security and sustainability. Okay, yeah, so we need BSF farming for sustainable agriculture. For producing a food secured society, we need BSF farming. So if it is implemented well, and of course researched further, we shouldn't just end with what we're learning. So it is with its expedient growth rate, varied diet, cost effectiveness compared to other agricultural models, low environmental impact, and numerous potential applications, it is an ideal moment for us to invest in expanding our understanding of this species. So while we are investing in understanding it, we need to also start. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Start. Start. By all means, start. You know enough now to start. So this will help us to create a more sustainable future, not just for ourselves, but for our generations to come. Let's become deliberate in becoming food sufficient. Let's become more deliberate in creating a better future for our generation. And BSF farming is one of the major solutions that we can, decide to take on. So at this point, I want to thank us all for listening, and God bless us once we apply them. Finally, I need to let us know that this webinar is brought to you by Pelox Integrated Modern Farm Limited, and we have a health food store just around here in New Owerri. Okay, so if you're looking for products, health products like your swallow, your red plantain millet swallow, your natural sweetener, your Tom Brown, your dried fish, your fresh chicken, your good palm oil, your soya bean, your okpa, and you want to set up farms, we are here to help you do that. Thank you very much for listening. God bless us all. If we have questions, we can ask. In the absence of that, you can take my contact for further. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Ambassador J.I. Madodoye, thank you for being here. Okay, so you can take my contact for further question. My contact is 080 6400 9050. 080 6400 9050. So I'll just type it on the group chat so that we'll get it also. Or you could reach us out on our email on pimpfarmlimited@gmail.com. pimpfarmlimited@gmail.com. I'm typing it right now. So thank you everyone for your time. God bless us all. We look forward to us creating a more food sufficient society. God bless you. Do have a blessed weekend ahead. Bye.